right, now let's continue with some news for the day. Artisanal mining is common on the African continent and some parts of the world. But here in South Africa, this mining activity is not regulated and therefore illegal. Several groups have organized themselves into gangs and often clash for territorial control. The situation has now come to head in Rivoli, where police have been flushing out these heavily armed illegal miners. To unpack this further for us, I am joined by mining analyst David van Wyk. Thank you very much, Mr. van Wyk, for your time here on eNCA. Just tell me a little bit more about why South Africa has not, had proper regulation around artisanal mining. I mean, with the fact that we are so rich in what we find in our mines, I thought that we'd be one of the countries at the forefront of making sure there's proper regulation.
Well, I think that we've left things too late. We have been working with the DMRE, with some universities, with the Legal Resource Centre, ILRIG and the National Association of Artisanal Miners and the department to work out regulations. These regulations have been gazetted about 3 years ago, but they've not been signed off, and so they've not been implemented. And so we have a crisis. We have rising unemployment. We have declining mining because the mineral resources are contracting and many mines are coming to the end of life of mine, and we've not planned for repurposing those mines or re-engineering those mines for smaller scale mining or for alternative economic activities. And it's a great tragedy that all this infrastructure is going to ruin because there's massive infrastructure around mines that could be used profitably. It should actually be an opportunity rather than a cost as it currently has become.
And obviously the crime around it is obviously a lucrative business, and it seems to be growing, unless we're just reporting about it even more now, and that's how we're hearing more about it because of the deaths that are happening. But Mr. van Wyk, in terms of the sealing of these mines, the previous owners would always say we've sealed the mines and it's no longer our responsibility. We're still stuck after so long with discussing this issue as to who exactly should be responsible for the sealing of these mines, DMRE, or is it the...
I think the sealing of mines is not a solution. You can't just put a concrete slab on the top. It's very easy to circumvent a concrete slab. Around Rivoli, there are 25 such shafts, only a fraction of which have been sealed, but it's very easy to get around the seals. And the Rivoli-Zamampilo operation is bound to fail because all these mines are interlinked. So the guys just go underground and come up somewhere else where the police are not. If I look at the weapons that they've recovered, those weapons are the kinds of weapons that people handed in during the last weapons amnesty to the police. They are not AK-47s and so on. I see hunting rifles and all sorts of things there, which suggest to me that some of the weapons that the police recovered have actually been given out to Zamazamas again. And this is a problem because the Langlaagte police station is right there next to George Harrison Park. It's very close to Zamampilo. And residents have told us that they've seen policemen and so on interacting with Zamazamas before the current crisis, suggesting that there's a corrupt relationship that exists between that police station and the Zamazamas in the area. And this is part of the problem. Part of the problem is that instead of regulating and enforcing the law, various departments in our country are actually benefiting from the illegality of these particular operations, and therefore there's not a strong political will to crush them. We will see a few weeks of police activity, and then after that things will go back to normal. We really need to re-engineer and repurpose mining towns because the mining towns all look as if they've been in a war zone. They look as if they are in the middle of Ukraine. All these mining towns had incredible facilities that could have been used: sports, recreation, health, education, infrastructure, and so on. Just the electricity substations could have been used to feed electricity back into the national grid, and we could have avoided the load shedding that we are having now if we repurpose these mines to actually provide electricity.
And Mr. van Wyk, I mean, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong. From the two answers you've given us so far, here's what I'm gathering. You're saying that we could repurpose and actually, there's a lot of opportunity with these mines versus what you said in your second answer about police allegedly possibly being involved in this. So clearly then there is someone out there, someone higher in authority that is not fixing the problem because it's a lucrative business for them as well.
Well, we are doing research at the moment, both in labor sending areas and in labor receiving areas, and we have identified some kingpins and so on. And what we find is that even political party election campaigns at local government level and at national level in some of our neighboring countries, as well as in our own country, in Machabeng, for example, we know that there are people whose election campaigns have been financed by kingpins and so on that are involved in this in these illegal mining operations. The other thing is that the labor sending areas have suffered for more than 100 years with their human resources coming to South Africa to work in the mines, and so those countries have become underdeveloped. The Eastern Cape is also underdeveloped, and so now with the contracting of mining, lots of mine workers are going back, being retrenched and so on to these areas, and there's no job opportunities for them there. And the mining industry has not trained mine workers in portable skills that they could take to other sectors of the economy. The only thing that they know to do is mining.
All right, and just lastly, in terms of everything that you've been saying, Mr. Van Wyk, you say that you've been working with the Department of Mineral Resources. What exactly are they saying, ministers and DGs of this department, as well as their police counterparts, about intelligence when it comes to this particular issue?
Well, we are concerned because just before the Krugersdorp rape case a year or so ago, things were going quite well. We were hoping that we would have the legislation and regulations in place, and then that case happened, and then it all became a police matter. We are concerned that the department should set up a central buying agency to buy all gold in the country, to prevent the gold from going to syndicates and getting out of the country overseas illegally and so on, and so that this gold can actually also be taxed, and the revenue from it can actually remain within the country. But that would require that we do an audit of all small-scale miners, that we actually take them out of areas that are unsafe or where they are a threat to local communities and so on, and retain them in areas where it is actually safe to mine. We have to scale down mining, small and medium-scale mining in this country, and we also have to do concurrent and post-mining economic planning so that we can keep the mining towns alive instead of them dying. Welkom owes Eskom 5 billion rands in an electricity bill when Welkom could actually be generating electricity and paying off its bill.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for speaking to us here on eNCA and your expertise. That was mining analyst David Van Wyk.